How many times does this happen to you guys? You're watching a haul video on YouTube, you see a reseller that you trust, that you know does really well, flips things for good profits, has a sustainable business. You see them get really excited about a brand in the store. They're like, oh, this is this brand, this is fantastic. And so you think, I can buy that brand too whenever I see it. No, let me stop you right there and let's go over something that I've never actually gone over explicitly before because I couldn't quite figure out how I figured this out. But now I have the answer for you guys. So the answer to the question, how much would you pay for X item? People used to ask me this and I was like, ooh, whatever I'm feeling that day. And that is what it feels like at the time. But the longer we've been doing this, the more I've noticed I do have a real answer to this question. And I have a chart that we actually made quite a few weeks ago that I want to share with you guys in this video. Hello YouTube, welcome back to the Everyday Closet. My name is Stephanie, and along with my partner Ethan, we are two full-time resellers of used clothing on places like Poshmark and eBay. We sell used clothing that we get from thrift stores, and in today's video we're going to be going over a method for how I determine how much I'm willing to pay up for something at the thrift store or wherever I'm paying money for inventory. So how many times has this happened to you guys? You're watching a YouTube video of a haul. It's a great reseller. You know they have a sustainable business model. You know they make reasonable money reselling. You know that you trust their bolos and the things that they pick up, and their advice has done you well in the past, or I don't know, something of that effect. And so they get really excited about seeing a brand. They're like, oh, Everlane or something, you know, one of the bolos. Like, this is great. This always sells for me. And they put it in their cart right away. They don't even mention checking comps because they know their comps for the item that they're getting. And you think, oh, I can pick that up too from wherever I live. Let me stop you right there. That is not how this works. And I think that's a major reseller mistake that a lot of beginners and even intermediate resellers make. So I want to go over how to fix that today. And also, this is going to answer the question that I've been kind of evading over the last bunch of years. The answer to the question, how much would you pay for this item, this brand, or a shoe from this brand, or whatever? I always thought that the answer to this question for me was, oh, sort of what I'm feeling at the time. And that is how it started. And that's how it feels sometimes. But now I've slowly noticed I'm actually doing some math in my head. And so I've decided to make that math explicit. And a few months ago, we made a spreadsheet for ourselves. The spreadsheet is what the cost of goods are at the thrift store. I also added what those cost of goods would be 30% off, since I'm so very often shopping the 30% off coupons at Value Village, or sometimes 30% off at the consignment stores if like that's how much the discount is. It's just nice to have that middle range percent off as like a, oh yeah, but if it's off, it becomes this, and then it goes into that column. Isn't math fun? And the next column is how much I would have to sell that item for to make our benchmark profit, and then how much I would have to list it for us to reasonably be able to sell it at that sell price. So we're going to go over this chart. Ethan's going to pop it up on the screen right here. I want you to look at it for a second. I want it to cover my face. I want it to be like the whole screen for a second. Screenshot this chart, or I will also be putting this in my Instagram stories or my, no, I'll do a post. Let's do a post. I'm going to do an Instagram post about this. So in the post for this video, if you swipe, there will be this chart. So that's where you can find it. But you do not want to necessarily just copy and paste this chart. Why? Because it's for our business. We live in the Vancouver area, as I've said many times, and as I've also said many times, and is painfully true, it's a very expensive area of the world to live in. I think it's like Hong Kong, Sydney, Vancouver or something, or like San Francisco. I don't know. It depends on the way you count it versus people's salaries, and I don't actually care that much right now. All I know is it's an expensive place to live. So what we have here is we have high cost of goods for even for secondhand thrifted items, and we have higher end items because people who live here, not everywhere here, but there are pockets, many pockets of neighborhoods around Vancouver. Pretty much every sub-city of the lower mainland Vancouver has 4 to 5 rich pockets. What that means is a lot of people have a lot of money here, and a lot of people have no money here or very little, and we also have a giant homeless population because it's the most moderate climate in Canada. But I digress. There are a lot of people here with a lot of money. There's basically just a lot of wealth inequality in this area, which actually is quite good for a reseller. There are, of course, depending on where you live, you might have really low cost of goods. And so you can pick up things that I cannot pick up because like you're getting it for $2 or $3, whereas I'm getting it for $14. And that makes the math very different. So that's why I wanted to go over this with you guys, not just to answer the question of like, how much would you pay for X item? I also wanted to put this out there as a reminder because this is really hard to remember when you're thrifting. Because you're thrifting, you see something, it's $10, and you go, I could probably sell this for $40. That's like $30, right? No, it's not $30. If you sell it for $40 on Poshmark, your earnings are $32 minus those costs of goods. And if you did a shipping discount, especially on Canada, ooh, that's another $3.50. So that would be from $32, you minus your cost of good, $22, and then you minus your shipping discount, $3.50 or so. Now you're into like $18.50 in what you're making, which is still good, but if you listed that item for $40 as a seller, is it ever gonna sell for $40? Is it gonna sell for what you listed it for? No. Never. Pretty much never. So the reason I made this chart is to remind myself, like, yes, you might only be paying $12.50, but that means you have to list it way up here so you can give people a discount, still be selling it for the amount you need for Poshmark to take its 20. Maybe you did a shipping discount, and then minusing cost of goods, what's left for the business. And so I just wanted it really explicit out here. And so we'll put up the chart again, put it up again. I love this chart. And so that's what all these are doing. And the reason I made a middle column with 30% off is literally just because there was a little while there where I was only thrifting at Value Village whenever it was 30% off. So it was just so relevant to me and my sourcing. You can make that column 50% off. If that's a sale that you shop often, you can get rid of that column. You can make it whatever you want. But this table is set up for our benchmark profit. And our benchmark profit is $25 per item. We can process around 4 items an hour. And when I say process, I mean lint roll, stain treat, photo, package, inventory, whole listing process. Ethan drafts it, I list it, the employees photo it. Employees, I don't know why I said that. The reason that we have that $25 profit minimum is because we have a lot of costs that go into operating our business. We have an employee that we pay. We have us that we try to pay. No, we do. We pay. We have the office. We have the storage unit. We have supplies for packaging and shipping. And if it's a US sale, all of those get an extra dollar on them because that's how much DYK charges us to take it across the border before it even starts shipping. So, and that's all before cost of goods, right? So I need $25 after cost of goods so that what me and Ethan take home at the end of the day is going to be at least $10, $15 per item, right? I don't know what it is exactly. That's the math I didn't do for this video. Sorry. So that's why we have the $25 benchmark minimum. And not everyone will have that benchmark minimum. You can also have like a percent that you're going for of what you paid. You can have a, what's it called? There's like a businessy term. I want to say return on investment, but that's not it. It's margin. The profit margin is like how much you paid for something versus how much you profited from it. The profit margin is that number. We don't do it by that simply because our cost of goods are almost always around the same. Our Value Villages around here price almost everything $8.99 to $29.99. And that's pretty much where we shop. And then, of course, the consignment stores, sometimes we pay $40, $50 for things or higher. The chart you're seeing that I've been referencing stops at $50, not because that is the most I'd pay for something, but because if I'm going over that, I'm already going to be doing that math manually in my head every time. And I'm not just looking for a $25 profit. If I'm paying $60, Yes, that would still be my minimum that I would be happy with. But for example, those Hermes shoes that we sold we picked up for $115. I would not have sold those for whatever $25 profit is after posh fees and after discounts and after selling. That would have been selling them for like, gosh, maybe Ethan can pull up that math, but at $115 cost of goods, this is the number that we would have listed them at. And I was never going to list them at that. I wouldn't have even accepted this as an offer. You know, we sold those for 400 and something dollars, which is what I was aiming for, which is what I'm always aiming for when I pay over $100. If I'm paying over $100, I don't want to see a sale in the 200s. I want to see it past there. When you're paying up more, there's like more room for error, more room for things to go wrong, and it's just more risk that you're taking on. It's $115 of risk. So for that, I'm going to need to see bigger returns. That's just how I feel about it. But you could follow this chart all the way up, going with a $25 minimum. The only problem you'd run into there is then if you started buying things for $60, $70, $80, $90 and you were only expecting a $25 profit on those items, you would run into some cash flow issues. Because then you're spending stuff and it takes some time to sell, and then, oh, I don't have money to get new stuff to put into the closet to make it keep running while I'm waiting for this stuff to sell. That could be a major problem, and that is also why I stopped it at $50. I'm okay with a $25 profit when I've spent $50. We have a very large closet. We have 1,500 active listings right now. And so we have some room like that, and we've built up some capital and we can do that. But I wouldn't have done that in the first 6 months of our journey, even. So things to keep in mind. But let's go over this chart. So as I mentioned, the first column is the cost of goods. So when you go to the store and you look at the tag, and this is what it says on the tag. And so you can use this chart in a few different ways, but the way I use it is I look at that tag, and if it's not 30% off, I'll completely ignore that second column. I'll also usually ignore that third column because I just go, okay, this is $17.50. Let's say it's a pair of Timberland boots. That's a very common thing that would be priced at my thrift for $17.50. Now, I skip all the way to that end column and I go, can I list these with a straight face and expect people to still like and interact with them? Or at least $75. I have to list these for at least $75. Or the third versus the fourth column, the difference between them is a 30% discount. In our business over the last few years, that's just what I found is around the average. Sometimes it can go a bit higher, but a lot of times it's lower. So I'd say it averages around 30% off is what I end up selling things for. So I always list at least 30% higher than I need to sell that item for. So if I have something listed in my closet right now and you sent me an offer for 30% off, I would accept it because that's what I planned on happening, just so you know. But if you wanted to send me a nicer offer because you love us, and you know, like I'm never going to say no to that. Oh my God, this is delicious. But that is the difference between that third column, like this is what you're going to have to sell it for. And in order for me to reasonably sell it for that price, this is what you're going to have to list it for. So I'm in the thrift store. I found these Timberland boots. Can I list these for $75? Well, it's going to depend on the Timberland boot. We've sold lots of Timberland boots for over $75 and we've sold lots for $30. So I need to know that going in, and then I'm going to be looking for, okay, well, they're in like new conditions, so that's a good point in its favor. Oh, they're a bit taller of a boot. Ankle boots sell for a little less than tall boots. I don't know, more leather. It depends. And then sometimes I'll just straight up look up comps. Like, all right, Timberlands have little codes in them. Let's just look up what these sell for. Okay, most of the comps are between $60 and $90. Perfect. I'm going to buy these. But if I just straight up look up the comps and I'm like, oh, most of the solds are actually only for $30 to $45, I'm not going to do that because if they're selling for around $45, I can't realistically list it for $75 and expect people to still like it and accept my offers. I can do that with some things, but it's risky, and that's not the whole idea of this chart. Is that that's not something that we're betting on repeatedly. What we want to do is we want to systematize our sourcing. So yes, I keep this chart on my phone at all times, and sometimes when I am waffling. So the way I go through the thrift store, I usually pile everything I'm thinking about into my cart and then I slowly sort it as I go once the cart's like basically full. And then at the very end of the thrift trip, what I always do is I take out all of my like maybes or should I get this? And I go through this chart with them. Value Village wants $30 for this jacket. Can I list it at 98? Yes? Cool. And the thing about sourcing and the thing about my Value Village versus your Goodwill versus your bins is that the costs are gonna vary wildly. So sometimes I'll like jump up and down, get excited seeing something, and you'll think, "Oh, I can pay up for that, right?" This happens to me so much in American people's videos because y'all Americans have nice thrift store prices. I've seen that they're rising. I don't want to generalize. They are rising, and I've seen some ridiculous prices. And then you convert it to American dollars, and you're like, "What was this Goodwill employee thinking, pricing these at $39.99 for Steve Madden, whatever?" You know, that is happening. But I still, to this day, see people getting things for $2, $3, $4, $5, and that's just not a cost of goods in my area. So that's why I made this chart for me. I would recommend that you use the idea of the chart and set it up for your business. So you're going to have a different profit that you want per item, depending on how much it costs you in time and in money to process each item. So how much is that poly mailer? How much is that thank you sticker? How much is the 15 minutes that it takes you to process each item, you know? I want you to do all of that for your business, and then you'll be able to come up with a number. How much profit do I need per item? How many items can I process per hour? How many items that I list in a week will sell? And that's how you turn this thing into like a real solid business. So this is something we've been doing for a while, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. So if you like this video, if it helped you in any way, I would so love it if you shared it with someone you know who's a reseller or who likes thrifting or who likes making profit, who doesn't, and if you hit like down below if it was helpful. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. First, some coffee. We got the group mug. I love the group mug, and it isn't really coffee actually. It's Earl Grey tea latte. It's a. When that cools down a few degrees, it turns. Yeah.